you ask folks in downtown Cedar Rapids what they think about the new $100 million convention complex, and they'll tell you people are pumped.
We're excited. I think it's going to bring a lot of business to Cedar Rapids, and it's a good destination.
It's something new. Hopefully it's going to bring in more people downtown Cedar Rapids, so hopefully that's a start.
Now I'm really anxious to see it get downtown back to normal. I said it's going to be beautiful.
It'll be good for the hotel and be good for the whole city.
That's CJ Wong, Vern Walker, Patricia Ross, and John Von Lockham. And why shouldn't they be excited? I mean, this place is right in the middle of downtown. It's huge, 430,000 square feet combined, and it has a lot of hype.
There's going to be a $35 million impact in Cedar Rapids on an annual basis as visitors, over 370,000 visitors, be coming to Cedar Rapids for various concerts, events, conventions.
That's Mayor Ron Corbett at the groundbreaking ceremony recently, with everyone from congressman to a cabinet member in attendance. And when you're talking about 375,000 people and $35 million a year, well, suddenly spending $100 million to build the place seems like a pretty good deal.
That it's going to see 375,000 annual visitors from outside Cedar Rapids. That's just not right.
That's Haywood Sanders, a professor of public administration at the University of Texas in San Antonio. He writes about the convention industry for the Brookings Institute and has testified about it before Congress. He rarely has a nice thing to say about any convention center anywhere, but when he looks at the projections Cedar Rapids is promoting, he says, no way.
This facility barely merits the title convention center at all. There'll barely be any conventions there to speak of.
Okay, let's back up. See, the whole appeal of a convention center is you draw in money from outsiders. You don't just want to move the same local money around like you would with only having an arena, where local residents might come see a home and garden show or a sporting event.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And sure, they'll buy lunch, maybe a t-shirt, but their money was already part of the local economy to begin with. Instead, you want to nab conventions. Big, week-long, space-renting, hotel-staying, restaurant-eating conventions that bring new money into town. And that's what's so exciting about Cedar Rapids projections, because that $35 million a year, that's fueled by 111 estimated conventions. This is all from a market study the Cedar Rapids Convention and Visitors Bureau did with a management company called VenueWorks. They found all those 100-plus conventions and trade shows would bring in 80,000 people a year. All of them with their beautiful out-of-town expense account. Add in the usual concerts, games, banquets, the local stuff, and boom. VenueWorks says, congratulations, Cedar Rapids. You've won $34 million in annual economic impact. But then there's another study.
What's intriguing is if you compare some of these numbers to the figures in the most recent analysis. And there you get a very different picture.
That's Haywood Sanders again, the guy who studies the convention industry at UT San Antonio. He looked at a newer analysis done by HVS Consultants, another company Cedar Rapids brought in a 200-page report looking at economic indicators and regional demand. HVS concludes you won't get 111 conventions a year. You'll get 10.
It's bringing in 10 conventions and trade shows a year, which yields 5,000 attendees. Not 375,000, not 72,000, but 5,000.
So how did that previous study, the one the city keeps quoting, how did they decide 100 or more conventions would come to Cedar Rapids? Good question. The Cedar Rapids Visitors and Convention Bureau declined to comment for this story, and calls to VenueWorks requesting their comment were not returned. The city manager's office referred us to John Frew. His company, Frew Nations, is the project manager for the complex, and he says, yeah, HVS, the folks who did the second study, they did a much more precise job.
We inherited the VenueWorks numbers when we were hired by the city. That study had already been done, and it speaks in generalities. whereas the HVS study speaks with far more specifics. And maybe, the VenueWorks is a stale set of numbers in so many ways, and maybe that should be off, but that's not our call.
So if the city knows this center isn't going to have a lot of convention demand, why spend $100 million building the thing? Haywood Sanders says he sees this all across the country right now. Convention centers are booming. In short, he says, because they look good.
This is not so much a vehicle for bringing in visitors and their spending. If anything, that HVS report suggests that nothing of the sort is likely to happen. This is a way for the local business community to try to revitalize downtown. Not with their money, not with their private investment, not with their dollars at risk, but with public dollars.
It is tough to make economic projections. Things change all the time. But with so many of Iowa's cities, from Coralville to Des Moines, pouring public money into new and expanded convention centers, it might not be a bad idea to take a second look at some of these numbers. In Cedar Rapids, I'm Kate Wells, Iowa Public Radio News.